guys, welcome back to my channel, and as you probably saw from the title card, today we are counting down my top 10 favorite horror movie villains. Now, how I created this list was basically a mixture of character design, my favorite just movies, and the character overall in general. I would love to hear your guys' favorite horror movie villain down in the comments, and leave your top 10s too. Coming in at number 10 is Pennywise the Clown from It. So when I was making this list, I was really thinking about what maybe scared me as a child, and Pennywise popped up in my brain. It was basically one of the first Stephen King horror movies I watched as a little kid, and when I did, I had nightmares for days, maybe even weeks, just about how creepy Pennywise was. And then, you know, in the opening scene, he grabs Georgie.
Aren't you gonna say hello?
Which, you know, he's not playing around. This clown is serious about his business. Plus, in my opinion, he's just the OG killer clown. Everyone basically knows him, so he had to make it at least on the list somewhere. Coming in at number 9 is Ghostface from the Scream franchise. So the reason why Ghostface is so low on the list, because Scream is one of my favorite horror movies ever, is just because there's not necessarily one person who does the killing. It's always like a whodunit, a new mystery, a new person, or people every single movie. So just because there's not one particular character that plays Ghostface per se, it kind of lowered Ghostface on the list. Coming in at number 8 is Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th franchise. I think the reason why Jason is so low on the list is he's iconic, but it does take a little while for the momentum to get going in the Friday the 13th movies. For example, we don't really see Jason until the second movie, and then we don't really see the iconic hockey mask until the third. So although he's very iconic, I feel like it takes a little while for his character to kind of get going in the series. Coming in at number 7 is John Jigsaw Kramer. So I absolutely adore all the Saw movies. Saw is such an amazing franchise. The first movie is gotta be one of my top movies of all time. And I'm actually going as Billy the Puppet this year for Halloween. So if you guys wanna maybe see a Halloween vlog, I'll try to film a little bit on Halloween so you guys can see my costume, and if not, then you can follow me on Instagram, which is just at Mandy_Irene_, and I'll for sure be posting pictures of my costume. But back to the conversation on hand, I just think he's an absolute evil mastermind putting together those saw traps, and I really probably wouldn't survive one, 100%. Coming in at number 6 is the horror icon himself, Michael Myers. Now, I feel like he really needs no explanation on why he's on my list. Halloween changed so many different things for the horror movie industry in general. He has a place in my heart because every Halloween, it's like tradition that I watch Halloween and Halloween 2 as like a double feature. And then character design wise, I always find it quite creepy that he doesn't really speak. Coming in at number 5, we have a Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, I don't hear a lot of people talking about the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974. And it's probably because it's like impossible to find on streaming, and it's impossible to find on physical media. I've been looking for a physical media, like DVD copy of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the longest time, and I can't seem to find one. But Leatherface, in my opinion, he is just he is literally psychotic, and you know, the scene with the chainsaw, he's just whipping it around. There's something so iconic about Leatherface and something so creepy that just gives this character life. Plus, I truly think he's really underrated when it comes to horror movie characters and villains. Coming in at number 4, we have Pinhead from the Hellraiser franchise. This is mostly because I think Pinhead's design is just one of the best character designs in horror movies. There's something about Pinhead where he's so intelligent sometimes with his words, but it's like a sinister intelligence, so it becomes even more freaky, and I think that's why he's so high on my list. Coming in at number 3, we have Art the Clown. There is not enough time for me to go over how much I love Terrifier and how much I think Art is the new horror icon, because we haven't had a horror icon in so many years. It's been so long since we've had like a face of horror, and I truly think that Art the Clown is just doing that for the horror movie industry. I'm also partial to Art the Clown because I do love David Howard Thornton's acting. I think he's incredible. I'm a huge fan, and I love Damien Leone and Lauren Rivera. Everyone in the Terrifier franchise is just so talented and so amazing, and I recently went to go see Terrifier 3, which is definitely a must-watch if you like the other two Terrifier movies. But back to the conversation again on hand, I digress. Art the Clown, he just has no chill. He just goes after anything and everyone and has no mercy, and honestly that just really makes him an interesting horror movie character. Plus, you know, I think I just really like the expressions and like the silence. Like, he doesn't need words to communicate his evil doings. Overall, Art the Clown 100% deserves this third place spot, and if it wasn't for these other two characters, he would be probably number one for me. I can see in a few years him being an icon like Michael Myers was, truly. Coming in at number 2, we have Mr. Hannibal Lecter himself. Silence of the Lambs is my favorite movie of all time, so of course Hannibal Lecter had to be on this list. Whether you think he's really a horror movie villain or more of just like a thriller kind of movie, I still think he falls under the category just because, you know, he does a lot of people, and there's something so sadistic and so evil and twisted about him. Again, with the sinister intelligence, just like I mentioned with Pinhead, you always feel like Hannibal Lecter's one step ahead of you. He always is, and there's something so scary about that. His whole demeanor is just super eerie, and the way he could get into your head is terrifying. So before we move on to our number 1 spot, I have some honorable mentions, starting with Chucky. Yeah, Chucky the doll from Child's Play. He almost made it to number 10, but Pennywise just inched up a little more because of the childhood memories I have with Pennywise. Chucky, in my opinion, Child's Play in general, the movies are so funny. They do a great mixture of comedy and horror, and Chucky himself is just a little possessed maniac doll, and honestly super iconic. Then we have Sam from Trick or Treat, which I feel like Sam doesn't really get talked about a lot, but he's super creepy. Like, in the last scene, spoiler if you haven't seen Trick or Treat, when his little mask comes off, he's so freaky. And honestly guys, I don't think I have that many reasons to put Sam on this list besides I just really like the character design and I like the way he fits in to the Trick or Treat movie. And our last honorable mention goes to Norman Bates from the movie Psycho. I just really love Alfred Hitchcock movies like The Birds, Vertigo, Psycho of course, but I felt like I could not mention Norman Bates because he's such an icon in horror, that final twist of the movie, and he's seriously freaky. Enough said. And finally, we have our number 1 spot. Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street. You could probably already tell maybe why Freddy Krueger is number 1 on my list. I love this horror movie villain so much. Words cannot express how cool I always thought that it was. You know, he can only get you when you're sleeping. Like, it's absolutely terrifying if you take the context to put it in real life, that like he can get you in your dreams, so you're forced to stay awake, forced to not sleep. And to me, when it's grounded in reality like that, I'd be frightened. Plus, of course, character design, the claw, which you guys saw in the intro. I do have one. Plus, in the movies, he mixes a little bit of comedy with a little bit of horror.
What's wrong, Joey? Feeling tongue-tied?
And it ends up just being a little bit of a masterpiece, in my opinion. I'm talking about Robert Englund's iconic Freddy Krueger. In my opinion, my mind always will associate Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger because he did such an incredible job portraying the character. Yes, I think I've rambled on enough about horror movie villains and horror movies for one day. Probably not. I'm 100% going to rewatch a bunch of them today because this is coming out on Halloween. At the moment, it's the Sunday before Halloween, so I have a lot of horror movies I still need to watch, including Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. I still haven't watched Nightmare Before Christmas, and I usually always watch that before Halloween. I also have yet to watch like the original Universal classic monsters like Frankenstein and Dracula, so I'm gonna go and catch up on some horror movies before Halloween, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more like horror content on my channel, let me know, because I am the most passionate about everything spooky and horror movies, horror in general. So let me know, and I hope you have a great day, a great night, and a very spooky Halloween. Okay, love you. Bye.